Hello everybody. Today I'm going to teach you how to read your own tarot cards. I'm going to show you the setup and everything about how to do it. And I'm going to show you that by doing a tarot card reading on myself. Let me just get right into it. So today I'm going to be working with the Everyday Witch tarot deck. Let's say that this is my first deck ever, okay? That's how we're going to be imagining this. And then if I get the chance, I'm going to use the Herbal Astrology Oracle. First, we're going to start with the Everyday Witch though, and I'm going to show you how I set up for a tarot card reading. You can take something like this and lay it on the table. I like to have a base for my table, but you don't have to have one. I want you to know that everything you do, just do what feels right for you. You can do tarot cards inside or outside. Now let's say that you don't have a scarf or something like that, or a tablecloth. See this big piece of clothing I have here? It's actually a hood. You can take something like this and just lay it over top like that, and it gives you the same effect. I'm not going to get that one all right. I was actually going to use this one, but I feel like this pink scarf looks so nice today. I have to use it. I wanted to mention that, I really love this. My friend got this for me, but I wouldn't use something like this because see how it has texture to it? You really don't want to use something that has texture if you are going to lay down, because it will just keep the cards popping up. Go around your house, grab some things you like, your favorite things, because this is a reading for you. So, here I have my cauldron and my mortar and pestle. I said Mordor. That's really funny. And you're also going to want to pick a couple of your favorite crystals if you have any. If you don't have any crystals, then you can choose anything that's meaningful to you whatsoever. Let's say the first thing you want to do with your deck is ask a specific question. Then you might want to put certain things on the table, like pyrite is associated with money. So let's say that you wanted to ask, how can I make more money? And then you might want to put pyrite on the table. And then also, same with my oils. If you have anything like that, you really want to make this a ritual. So go ahead and put on some perfume. Make sure that you've eaten. I took a walk before I did this, and I always make sure that I have lots of drinks. I made some tea. Always have lots of water with you. This could take a while, but I like to have multiple drinks for the experience. And I don't eat during the experience. I'm sure you could if that felt right for you. I like to make sure that I'm well fed. Do what you can to get yourself in a centered place before you go into the reading. I know a lot of people go into tarot card readings thinking, I desperately need advice. My advice to you is to try to get yourself at the most centered place you possibly can before turning to your cards. If you really feel like nothing's working, then maybe your cards will have the answer. Shower, eat, take a walk, be with your animals, whatever it is, do what you can to get yourself grounded. Maybe do a little meditation, some deep breaths. Smelling essential oils always helps for me. And what you put on the table could affect the reading. Today I have money, and I have inspiration, which is a new oil. I personally would like to ask Tarot if there's anything I can do in regards to my blockages with money. I've always struggled with money. I've always struggled with, I've never had a lot of money. And I would like to change that. But most of the time I get messages from Spirit or from Tarot saying that it's not really what matters. So By putting these things on the table, maybe it will put that type of energy in the reading, but I don't know if that's exactly the question that I'm going to ask. I usually would just ask, what do you want to tell me? Because that's so open-ended and it is your first time with this deck. You might just want to get some general advice on what this type of deck is. And the very first thing I do when I get a deck is cleanse it with a crystal. Like I said, you could really cleanse it with whatever you want. If you have a favorite lighter, you could put your lighter on top. It doesn't really matter. You could even just hold it in your hands and just say, I cleanse this deck. But that's the very first thing that I do when I get a deck. I mean, obviously first I like to look through the cards a little bit, look through the book a little bit. But once I've done that and I'm ready to get into a reading, this is the very first step. And I usually ask the deck, can you please introduce yourself? I think that is such an important thing to do to your very first tarot card deck. You want to know what the energy of this deck is. They all have different energy and they all can help you with different sort of advice and just a style of the way that they speak. Think of it as like talking to another person. You really want to know who you're talking to. So you ask the tarot cards themselves, who are you talking to? What can you tell me about yourself? I have let this sit here for a while. I don't know if I've ever even had this deck introduce itself to me, but I'm going to ask it to introduce itself. So what I typically would do is just go ahead and start shuffling. Like this first card just came right off the top. What I would do if a card flies out is ask Spirit, try to ask your intuition. You can call it your higher self, God, it does not matter. And you say, is this right? And the answer I got was no. Okay, so this card was not right. I'm going to put it back in and I'm going to keep shuffling. That's what you really want to do for tarot card readings. You really want to be asking over and over, is this right? And I do like to shuffle, but there's another way to do it if a card isn't flying out. So let's actually, one more time, let's see. Okay, I'm saying this is the card. The High Priestess. That sure does make a lot of sense, but let's say that you don't know what that means. You can see a lot right on the card. What can you get out of the card? What you can get out of the card itself, there's tons of books in the background, and that to me is like wisdom, is knowledge, immense knowledge. And we have a white and black candle. So to me, that means both positive and negative information, or as people would view it as such. So it's not all white light. You know, there are negative answers within this. There's tarot cards right here on the card. This is a tarot deck, but there's also runes. There's also a ball. There's a crystal ball. And the girl is calling out to find out more. So this deck is a form of divination. And all tarot cards really are a form of divination. You are asking the higher. This is called the High Priestess. You know that the deck has a feminine energy. You know that it's higher. It's a spiritual above, maybe sees above the human nature. She's a witch, so, and this deck is called the Everyday Witch. This is literally the front of the deck, which is crazy. And there is a black cat on it. I consider black cats really lucky, so maybe this deck is very lucky. The last thing I wanted to say about this card is that she's also in a tent. So this might be kind of mysterious knowledge. It might have a mysterious energy to it. You may not be able to get those things right away. You may see the card and you see that it's a witch. And you know, okay, maybe witches will like this. It's called the Everyday Witch. I'll know witches will like this. You may see the white and black candle and you think, dark and light, what about Gemini? You might think, oh, is this in relation to Gemini? This is 2. Has 2 on it. What do you think about when you think about the number 2? Think about numerology. Think about the pictures. And you're going to want to relate that and those pictures to what the card means itself out of the book. I think that this card is a really great place to start. I consider the High Priestess to represent tarot, to represent people who read tarot. And I want to mention this before we go any farther in this video. Anyone can read tarot cards. You do not have to be special to own tarot cards. No matter who you are, you can have a connection with tarot cards. Let's say maybe you thought that you had to have visions. You just felt that there was something blocking you from reading tarot. It's not for you. It can be for you. In fact, if you don't feel tarot is for you, I definitely recommend grabbing an oracle deck that has to do with something you like. Like this one's called the Herbal Astrology. I love herbs and astrology. I'm sure there's one that has to do with cats. I've seen it. There's ones that have to do with mermaids. Whatever it is, you can find something that interests you and it will teach you along the way. Let's say that you see the card and you don't know what it means. You can't pick up anything from the pictures. Maybe you're not familiar with numerology at this time. You will learn these things through practice and repetition of seeing the cards and doing research. There's a lot of research that goes alongside. There's a lot of life experiences that go alongside beginning to do tarot card readings. It is a very life-changing hobby. Once I have looked at the card, got a feel for the card, try to deduce what I think it might mean based on the picture and based on the number, then I would go to the book. And in the book, it says, higher wisdom is available to us all. As I said, no one is special and is the only person that gets to be a tarot card reader or something like that. It is for everyone. Seek knowledge from within and without. So think about it. Now, you've just been told something by this card. Can you relate that to the card and to the picture? Because if you're going to want to do this for a long period of time, you're going to want to get a feel for the cards and start memorizing what they mean. Now, because it says seek knowledge from within and without, you can kind of see that represented in this card. Knowledge without is the books. These are things that you can get from the outside world. And maybe using like a crystal ball or just doing kind of meditation, asking the higher sources within you, that is from within. So you can kind of see that depicted within the card, and then you can try to remember that maybe next time you pull this card. And another way you can remember that is 2. So out and in. You always want to try to make as many associations as you can. It says, a dark-haired witch sits in a chair, wearing her witch's hat. To either side are tall pillar candles on stands, one white and one black. In front of her there is a large glowing crystal ball, into which she is looking. To the left of the crystal ball is a tarot card spread, and to the right is an enigmatic black cat, with one foot resting on a drawstring bag. from which rune stones are spilling. Behind the table, there are stacks of books. Mystery surrounds her, and yet you get the sense that this high priestess knows everything about you, your worries and your innermost desires, your past and your future. But before you even ask one question, she has the answers you seek. But can you convince her to share them? She tells you about what she is. This deck is a woman. I've always known that, but it's just nice to actually hear it. It's just funny. It says you don't even need to ask a question. I even said that before. But you don't have to ask a question at all. You can just pull the cards and they will explain themselves. You will figure out what the meaning is behind them. And she's telling you, she knows everything. This tarot card deck is connected to all. So it's saying it knows about your worries, your secrets, your desires, your past, and your future. You don't need to even ask a question. It will tell what you need. It says she has the answers you seek, but can you convince her to share them? So she's saying that she's a bit coy, you know. This deck, it wants, I think, gratitude for what it gives. It wants to be appreciated. So maybe going forward using this deck, you could say, thank you for letting me use you today. Thank you for the knowledge that you've given me. You want to actually treat this deck like it is another person, like we're speaking to another person, because it is another energy. This tarot card spread right here in the card, it shows me the exact spread. It is a 5-card spread. I'm actually going to do that for myself because I feel that it called to me and told me what to do for my tarot card spread today. I wasn't sure. I was thinking maybe a 3-card spread. I was thinking maybe the full Celtic cross. I thought that was going to take too long. So this is honestly a perfect middle ground, and I'm going to do that exact same thing. It gave me the answer that I seeked without me even asking. So it already has explained itself. Because you asked the tarot card deck to talk about itself, then you know that every time it's talking, she has the answers you seek, it's talking about itself. So if you were to say, can you pull a card for me? What am I like to other people? And it said she has the answers you seek, then it would be talking about you. But because we're talking about the tarot card deck itself, then it's talking about the deck. If you were talking about another person, even if you asked the question, what does this guy act like when no one's looking, or something like that, and it still says she has the answers you seek, it's talking about him. He may have a more feminine energy, but you're just going to read it as if it's for that person. The High Priestess represents both ancient wisdom and current knowledge. She is every wise woman who has ever lived, and every matriarch who ruled over her family's kitchen table. I'm literally getting chills. I could cry just thinking about that. I've always got an auntie energy or like a grandma energy from this deck, but it says that it's every wise woman who's ever lived. That is what this deck is combined. That is the energy of this deck. She's very wise. She's definitely said that multiple times. She knows the knowledge. She knows everything. You can probably learn a lot from her, but you have to be looking for the answers in order to get them. So it's saying that you really have to want something for it to tell you about it. Like, let's say that you were thinking about moving, right? You're not like really prepared in your life. Well, she might not talk about the move or how you can move or anything like that. She might talk about how you can prepare your mental state and just your life in general so that you can get to the place to be ready to move. So you have to remember that it knows where you're at in your life. even if you're asking a couple steps ahead, it might push you back and say, let's talk about right now. She says, you have to be willing to deal with the truth when you get it. I've always felt that this deck was harsh, so that's what I would say I get out of that. It's saying like, hey, you came to me for advice, so if I tell you bluntly, no, that person's not for you, then please follow my advice and please don't get really upset and hurt about what I've told you, what information I've told you, what divine knowledge I've told you. And then it says, life is rarely black and white, and neither is whatever you will learn. So I was pulling off like negative or light energy, and it's both. But what it actually was meaning by these two candles is that, like, she's in the center between the two candles. She's saying that there's really no black and white. There's no this is negative and this is positive. We're living in that liminal space, in that paradoxal crossroad space at all times, because nothing is really all one thing or the other, and you're going to come to realize that through using this deck. And then it says, things to consider. The High Priestess represents deep wisdom. Sometimes that wisdom comes from outside of us, and sometimes it comes from within, but it rarely just lands in our laps accidentally. This card encourages you to embrace your own power, inner wisdom and knowledge, and pursue such things outside of yourself as well. What are you seeking? What questions do you need answered? And what can you do to find them? So she's saying that this deck tells you to remember your own power. Remember that you can always call on your intuition. You don't even need the deck. You can call to outside sources to learn things, but it's saying that you have wisdom within you as well, and to remember that and pursue. It says, what are you seeking and how can you find these answers? What can you do? So it's a very motivational deck. That's what it's saying. It's saying it wants you to get out there and get what you want and to learn what you want to learn. And it's willing to work with you if you're willing to work with her. The High Priestess card in a reading may represent you, or may be an indication that there is someone you can turn to for help. So she's saying you can turn to me for help. You know, it says it could be you, or it could be someone to turn to for help. Like I said, you know that this is a question about who the deck is. So you know that it's not you, and you know that she's saying you can turn to me for help. She says, I am a mentor, an elder, someone you respect in your spiritual community. Don't expect this person to just hand you the answers. You are still going to have to do the hard work for yourself. Be aware of looking at things as black and white, right or wrong. Life is rarely that simple. And sometimes you have to accept that you can't know everything right now. She's saying, I'll give you little bits of information at a time, but you're the one that's going to have to do the hard work. And she's saying that she really wants to dismantle the idea of black and white thinking. That's one of her main goals as a tarot card deck. She doesn't want you thinking, oh, I have to break up with this person, so therefore that's a bad thing. No. It's like there were silver linings, there were good things that happened out of that. And this deck wants you to see that. It wants you to see that it's not this is good and this is bad. It's this happened. How do I feel about that? What can I learn from that? What research can I do going forward? And if you want to reach out to this deck, just be prepared to get a blunt and honest answer, but maybe not all of the answers. That's what it's saying. Maybe there will be some things that you have to do inner work, maybe journaling, maybe going outside, maybe a confrontation you have with a person and then you come to realize something. There's going to be work that has to be done alongside. If you keep coming back to the deck over and over and you haven't changed any aspect of your life that it has maybe asked you or hinted at, then it's just going to keep giving you the same answers. And I think that this deck did a really good job at introducing itself. Okay, now let's say that the tarot card deck that you have doesn't have a very in-depth book, or it didn't do the best job at explaining itself, or maybe you just had a hard time understanding each individual aspect. This is where I would 100% go online. That is the beauty of tarot cards compared to oracle cards, is that they are all pretty standard, and you can find the meaning of the High Priestess online. I use Biddy Tarot, but feel free to just type in High Priestess, the High Priestess tarot card meaning. And this was upright. Let's say you got a reverse, you can always type in reversal and go ahead and read through that. This deck did do a really good job at explaining itself, but I'm going to quickly go over to the computer. And if you look online, it actually says a lot of things about intuition. It says, the High Priestess is the guardian of the subconscious mind and the teacher of sacred knowledge and hidden mysteries. Sitting in the threshold of the conscious and subconscious mind, the High Priestess has an innate ability to travel between these realms effortlessly. She teaches you that the world is not always as it seems, and more profound influences are often at play. She ushers you through the thin veil of awareness, offering you a deep intuitive understanding of the universe and a heightened awareness of secret and hidden information. So there's a lot more on this page, as you can see, but you can tell that there's obviously some similarities there. It's talking about the same things, and it added in a few more things that you might be able to remember, like it talks about intuition, it talks about the veil in between, going back and forth in between maybe higher states of consciousness and being down here in like a human form. In the beginning, I would definitely go through and Google every single card that I pull, even if the book said a lot of interesting information, because I want to see if there's any differences or anything I can add, and try to get a feel for what the standard meaning behind the card is. You might not want to start there, that might be a little too overwhelming, and just reading the book is totally fine. And see what you can get out of that. You might not be able to catch every single detail at first, but it's a learning process, and you will remember over time what each thing means. Now I'm going to do the reading for myself. Now that the deck has introduced itself, I'm going to put the card for the deck over to the side. And for your first time ever doing a reading, you can feel free to just pull one card. You can also feel free to look up a reading. There are many different types of readings. If you were looking for something specific, like love, like communication between two people, money, your future, there is a reading for everything online. And a lot of the times, even in the beginning of the book, it'll give you a few readings to do. And I would recommend doing one of the readings that the book gives you, if they give you any. I'm going to pull a 5-card spread because that's what it shows. You can also pull a 3-card spread, past, present, future. That is a really great place to start as well. This reading is kind of like past, present, future, but because it has one up and one down, I would think that would be like higher spiritual energy and maybe like lower grounding energy. So I just know that from years of doing practice, but if you were to see this 5-card spread, I would go online, look up which each individual section means, so you can make sure that you know what you're pulling the card for. Like I said, it's not necessary to have different slots because the cards will tell you what they need to tell you. And If you do need information on another card, like let's say you pull a card and you're not really sure, let's say you're like, is this applying to right now? Or if you say, was this about me? You can pull a signifier card. Going to put this one down. I feel like it came out for me. I'm just going to shuffle regularly. If they come out, I ask Spirit. You can ask out loud. You can say, is this card for me? And you just keep going. Now, let me show you another way to shuffle the cards, okay? You take the cards, give them a good shuffle. Make sure they're nice and shuffled. Shuffle them a couple more times if you think they need it. And you're going to split them into 3 sections, okay? And you can put them wherever you want on the table, it doesn't matter. Really, you can split it into however many you want, but I like to do 3 and then I put them back together. And then I do this 2 more times, so it's 3 by 3. And then the card that is on top is the one that I pull. So split it into 3 sections. You put them back together however you want. And the universe will give you the answer that you need. Okay. So this one. And I would pull this. Right there, the star. When I was first learning, I would typically pull 1 card at a time, read what that card meant, and then move on. It doesn't really matter how you do it. You can pull out all of the cards and then read them all, or you can do it one at a time. I am actually going to stop right here and focus on this present card. I believe this is the present card. And I got the Knight of Wands reverse. Each book has its own way of setting up the cards. There are the major arcana and the minor arcana. So the minor arcana are the cups, the pentacles, the wands, and the swords. And the cups, they have to deal with love, emotion. Wands have to deal with creative energy. Pentacles have to deal with abundance, material items, money. And swords have to do with the mind or your intellect. Each of the minor arcana sections have the ace all the way through the king. Let's say you get a pentacles card. It's going to have to do with abundance, no matter if you get the Ace of Pentacles or the King of Pentacles. But each one is going to mean a different thing. And you can kind of think about that. What would the Ace mean? The beginning of something new, right? 1. And what would the King mean? Somebody that has it all. They've achieved that. So you can kind of deduce what they mean just based on the different sections once you memorize the minor arcana. Sometimes they are different. I actually have a tarot card deck that calls the Queen the Mother, but it still means the same thing. And if you were to Google it, you would type in the Queen of Pentacles, or like this says the Knight of Wands. The one deck I have, it would say the Son of Wands. If you were to Google it and get more information about it, it would be the Knight of Wands. The minor arcanas will be all in one section, and the major arcanas are either going to be before or after that. The Knight of Wands. Now, we must remember that this is reversed. This is our first time ever receiving a reversal. This deck does not have to do with reversals. So we can either go right to the computer and Google reversal of the Knight of Wands and try to figure out what it means that way. Or we can read this book. I would typically always recommend reading the book that comes with the actual deck, because I believe that each deck has its own energy, like I said, and you really want to get what the book says for that specific card. The Knight of Wands says, passion, excitement, adventure awaits if you are brave enough to move forward despite risks. Now that you've learned that the Knight of Wands has to do with passion, excitement, adventure, can you pick that up off this card? You can just go ahead and turn it upright for this time. You can see on this card that he seems to be going towards a dragon on top of a mountain. That is the adventure he is facing. He needs bravery to achieve that. He is facing towards his goal, I would say, or challenge, the challenge ahead. Remember, wands, they have to do with your creative energy, or just really like your spiritual energy, like your chi, the energy that you have to be able to do things. You can kind of get an idea, okay, the Knight has to do with adventure. And the Knight typically has to do with adventure no matter which one it is. If it's the Knight of Cups, it's adventure in love. It's going out and pushing forward and trying to meet those new people. The Knight of Wands is always ready for adventure. He's eager and inquisitive, forceful and brave, cheerful at the face of adversity. In short, he is a great ally to have on your side. On the other hand, there are times when he may be racing into the mouth of a dragon and taking you with him. That might be the reversal. It's kind of giving you a hint. In the upright position, he's forceful and brave and going out there and going towards adventures, but there's that flip side of it where he may be bringing other people into scary situations with him. It could be an indication that you have a faithful friend or family member who is dedicated to your cause, or a man who is willing to face the future at your side. It could also mean that you are letting passion carry you away without thinking. Not that that is always a bad thing. Just thinking about that in my life, I do have a boyfriend that is always there for me and always supports me in everything I do, and it really called that out. And I don't think that that's the reversal side of it. But it does say that you could be letting passion carry you away without thinking. And I think that is what applies to me. That is what I'm getting out of it. When you read through the whole thing and you say, what about this applies to me? You could just take one sentence. It doesn't necessarily mean every single sentence is going to be the one that's for you. I'm reading this for the present moment. That's how I read the center of a 5-card spread. And to me, that's something I needed to hear, because I said that money and inspiration are on the table. That's kind of what I wanted this reading to be about for me. I haven't done a reading in a long time, and I've always been hitting roadblocks with bringing a lot of money into my life. And I feel like that's what it's saying to me. It's saying you're letting passion carry you away without thinking. So I'm thinking too much about just creating, and this is so amazing. I love making perfume. I love doing YouTube videos and all these things that are all part of it. But I really think it's telling me to sit down and actually figure out how to bring money in. If the money's not coming from this is how I'm going to read it for me. Either something needs to change about it, or I need to have an additional source of income, because it's basically telling me you can have all this passion, but if you're not thinking with your head, then the money isn't going to come in. You have to have a logical and passionate balance about what you're doing. Things to consider. Most of the time, the Knight of Wands shows up in a reading to represent someone else in your life, a son or a young and adventurous friend or lover. If so, his presence is probably a good thing, as long as you're not being swept along willy-nilly with his passion. Sometimes the Knight is an indication that it's time for you to take action. No more planning or thinking things through. Just move forward in the direction you know you want to go. But be aware that there may be dragons at the end of your journey. So I think one thing I will say is that no matter if the card is upright or reversed, there can be things within the book that you were supposed to hear. And I feel like the no more planning or thinking things through, it's weird because it's saying you need to think and actually make sure you're thinking things through. But then the other side of it is you don't need to think. Don't think things through. And I think, based on the very first card that we got, to not believe in black or white thinking, it's really both. It's let that passion take you away, let it carry you away, but at the same time, you can think things through like, I'm not making as much money as I'd like from this, so I'm going to get a second job. And you can also say, I don't need to plan every aspect of this. It's going to go my way. It's going to go correctly. And it really gave a warning. It said that there could be dragons at the end of my journey. And I'm okay with that, you know? I think there's been dragons at the end of many journeys, and they end up just being a fluffy little cat, you know? Things happen, and they can be really scary, but at the end of the day, it all moves on. You always let go from that moment. There's always a next moment. So you don't have to get super, super caught up on one dragon at the top of the mountain. You'll probably be going down the mountain any moment now, and then maybe there will be a dragon at the top of your other mountain, but that's okay. It's just part of life. There's ups and downs. I think that's what it's trying to say. I think that there's more to this card than I read. You can always kind of ask your intuition, like, did I get everything I need to get out of that card? That's how I'm feeling right now, and that's when I would go straight online and I would look up more things about the card. So let me do that.
The Knight of Wands reversed may appear when you are actively pursuing a personal passion project or hobby. A fire has been lit within you, and now you are doing everything to move this passion project forward. You have no intention of turning it into a raging success. It is simply for you to enjoy and channel your energy into. For example, you may learn to read tarot purely because you have an interest in this beautiful spiritual tool, rather than wanting to become a world renowned tarot reader. You are pursuing this passion project with all of your heart because it genuinely lights you up inside. How perfect is that for you all that are watching this to learn tarot? That is so awesome. This also definitely applies to me because I feel like it's telling me I need to just love what I do. I need to just put all my passion into it. It doesn't need to be a success. I just need to really enjoy it. The Knight of Wands reverse can signal that you are experiencing a considerable buildup of energy, but are unsure how to channel it into the world effectively. You may have a creative restlessness knowing that you are destined for something big, but you are restricted from taking action right now. Perhaps there are frustrating delays, insurmountable obstacles, and people standing in your way. The tension from within is palpable, and you desperately need to release this creative energy. Look at alternative ways to pursue your passion or manifest your vision. You may need to adjust your path somewhat while staying true to your original idea. You can change what you're working on, how you're working on it, why you're working on it, but I just don't believe in giving up. You can take breaks, do what you need to do, but this very much applies to me. I needed to remember why I do this, which is because I love to make art and I love to share that with others. And there might be different ways that I need to start using my creative energy, like different mediums, like different forms of clay and different types of paint. But it's definitely telling me to just keep pushing, and I love this. The other sections have to do with acting impulsively, and I don't feel I've been doing that, so I know that those sections are probably not going to be for me.
So that was a lot of information. That's a ton of information. You might feel like that's a whirlwind. I don't even know where to start. That just seemed like so many different things could be the answer. And a lot of cards do have that many meanings. That's a thing. You really have to figure out what applies to you. That's why there's a lot of digging deep within. Which one sparked for you? Which one felt like something that you needed to hear? And you might want to take notes while you're doing this tarot card reading for the first time. I actually would highly recommend taking notes for your very first time doing tarot. What I would recommend doing, especially in a case like this, is write out a sentence for what each card means. In this case, write out a sentence for what it could mean. And there was multiple different paragraphs and multiple different meanings in the book. Write 6 or 7 sentences for what it would mean. And then put a star next to the ones that you felt like applied to you. So you can get an idea for what it means generally, and then you can get an idea for what it means for this reading in particular. Let us pull another card because I don't want to go straight to the star. That is probably our future card. And let's go to the past, or possibly this could be for another position. You can also ask the card itself if you have a like here's 3. Are these the right ones? Yeah? And you can ask, like I said, you can ask, where does this one go in the past? And where does this one go? Down here? This one's right? Yes. Okay. Okay, I pulled all the cards now. So I am going to move on to the 6 of Swords. First thing I'm going to do, look at the card. What can I see from the card? It seems mysterious. There's multiple people walking. She's carrying swords with her. They're walking in the nighttime. There's many stars out. Lots of leaves, but I can't seem to quite grasp what this card could mean, right? That's like the High Priestess card, it was a bit more obvious. This card, it has some mysterious energy to it, and I'm unsure of it, so I'm going to go straight to the book. It says, any place but here, and this is going to be my past. And that's funny that it said any place but here, because that's kind of how I felt about where I was before. My old town, I absolutely love my friends and family, but I just wasn't feeling a connection to where I lived anymore, and it's just funny that it says that. So you can really get a feeling based on your past. You can tie this to a time in your past. Think about things that have happened in your recent past, long ago in your past, and you can tie this card to a memory. That's another way to, a memory or a feeling. That is another way to memorize the cards. You don't have to memorize the cards, you know? It just kind of happens naturally, and it is something that if you want to do that as a job, then you're going to want to try to remember what each card means, or at least an idea of what it means. If you don't ever want to do this for others, or, you know, even if you do it for others, you can still read out of the book. So it's really not necessary to memorize every card. I definitely want to make that clear. It's just something that you kind of naturally do. Sometimes you just have to get gone and try not to take your troubles with you. I think that this is speaking straight to me because I feel like I may have moved, but I still have a lot of the same troubles. I think that's what, my money troubles, they're still here. It's not like they went away because I moved. This witch isn't going to spend one more minute where she is. She's already on her way. with only a few necessities because time is of the essence, and sometimes it is better to get out with nothing than to hang on to things or people that are weighing you down. And that's 100% my past. I mean, I literally had a house fire and then I moved a couple months after that, so I wasn't able to take most of what I had. I obviously couldn't take my friends with me, and the people that really matter are the ones that come visit me and I still talk to them. So I'm already tying my personal experience to what this card means. She's not traveling alone. It isn't clear if she's helping her traveling companions or if they're helping her, but either way, they are in this together. An arcane gesture to summon the wind, and they're off to the unknown future. All she knows is that any place will be better than whatever she's leaving behind. So it's saying, I gotta go. There's a good reason for having to leave, you know? And I had a good reason for leaving. I had many good reasons for leaving. And I feel like this is just telling me that I did the right thing, right? And I had people there to help me. Thank you to those people. I think a lot of the times in tarot card readings, gratitude is a huge part of it. So remember those people that helped you. In this moment, if it was my first time ever reading with this deck, I'd say, wow, thank you to those people that helped me move. And of course, my boyfriend that moved with me. I wouldn't have been able to do it without them. And you just have a little moment of gratitude. Maybe put your hand over your heart. But there can be moments like that when you're doing a reading where you just take a moment, you stop and you say, hold up. I just want to have a ritual, or I just want to have a moment of grounding, or I just want to have a breath. Listen to that want to do those things. It's important as well. If something happens within a reading, let's say someone comes into your house. Let's say your friend calls and says, hey, do you want to come over? I really need somebody there for me. Then maybe you pulled a card that was like talking about communication and being there for people. You go over there and you get there and be with your friend. It doesn't matter that the tarot card reading was still going on. If there's something actually happening in the outside world when a tarot card reading is happening, that may be a reason, that may be a sign that you are supposed to stop the reading. You can always pick back up on a reading. You can just leave it the way it is, or you can tuck them away and take a picture of them if you really need to remember. I think that's an important thing because I've had a lot of readings be paused, and it is important to pause them when they need to be paused. Sometimes there are situations you simply can't fix. Unhealthy relationships, jobs that beat you down, dangerous or unproductive circumstances. If you're dealing with one of those, you have to ask yourself if it is time to cut your losses and just get out. And there's no shame in asking for help to do so. If you need to, or maybe someone else needs your help to escape their own bad situation, it's okay to lend a hand as long as you are sure you're not going to end up carrying burdens that don't belong to you. So it's just saying that my previous situation was an unproductive circumstance. My old job got me down. And I did the right thing by cutting my losses and getting out. So you can just read it as if, how does this apply to my past, right? If let's say that section was for my boyfriend, I'll be like, wow, we moved here together. We got out of that together. He helped me that whole way through. You know, so you can make it apply to different things depending on what section it's in. I'm going to go to the Four of Cups reverse now. I would consider this like a grounding energy. If the top part is spiritual energy, then the bottom part would be grounding energy. Now, what can you get straight off looking at the card? You can get that the man seems upset with, kind of just bored, actually. I wouldn't say he's upset. You can really get a look at their faces. He seems bored with what he has in front of him, and then it seems as though his son is bringing in another cup, and he seems kind of shocked and upset. what I would get out of this is thinking, he has things and he's being brought another one, and that's probably not going to fulfill him either. So what you can get straight off of looking at the card is maybe if you're not fulfilled by what you already have, then what's to say that you're going to be fulfilled by the next thing, right? And I think that that is what I need to hear, right, with my money problems. If I'm not grateful for all the things that I have around me, I have a roof over my head, I have food, I have access to a car, I have money, I go on trips, I do what I need to do, I have hobbies, then what's to say, how is $20, $200, or $2,000 or $20,000 going to change that? Because if I'm not grateful for what I have sitting in front of me, right, just based on the card alone, then what is putting another thing in front of me going to do for me? But tarot puts a lot of emphasis on gratitude. I'm grateful for you. Come here. Come here. I'm grateful for you, baby. Yeah. I'm so grateful for you. Wow. But let's say that I couldn't get that from the photo. Second thing you're going to do, of course, is read the entire book. Okay, the Four of Cups says, I'm sure something better will come along if I wait long enough. And I think the reversal of this is kind of saying, like, I can't wait. You know, I have to make that happen. The young sage in the Four of Cups isn't happy with his work. Of course, that's not unusual. Truth be told, he's never really satisfied. No, I'm not really ever satisfied. I want to be satisfied, but even if I was making probably $100,000 a year off of my art, I still probably would want to make $120,000. I wanted 1,000 followers on my Instagram so bad, but as soon as I hit that, I started seeing everybody with 5,000 and 10,000, even 2,000, and I said, oh, I really want that. So that's just something I have to work on, and I think tarot is calling that out in me and saying, you can't keep just wanting the next thing, right? And you can think of that card and relate that card to this picture. That's the next thing. That next cup is the next thing. It's the next thing that's going to light you up. Remember, cups have to do with your emotions. So it's the thing that's going to fill you up. His hardworking apprentice tries to offer him a different option, but our sage knows it isn't quite right. After all, it isn't perfect, and therefore it isn't good enough. He'll keep rejecting things. Surely, just the right one will come along sooner or later. If not, our sage would rather have nothing at all. And that's me. Specifically having to do with jobs. I've had so many bad jobs in my life that going back into the workforce after working for myself for so long seems silly almost and daunting. A lot of different emotions arise when I think about that because I haven't really had a single job in my life that I felt was truly fulfilling for me except for working for myself. So I've kind of associated working for myself for what is right for me. But that doesn't mean that there's not a job out there that could work for me. So I think all I really have to do is either go out and actually look for it and accept something, and also know that it's not going to be perfect no matter what. Just like I'm not making enough money with my business, it's not perfect in that aspect. It's still good. It's still, well, there's really no black or white, but it's still what I want, right? This is about your emotions. It's still what I want. That doesn't mean I can't add more things to it. So in this case, I am taking this reading a lot having to do with money and my inspiration, because that is the two oils that I have on the table and what I wanted this reading to be about. Maybe it's not them, it's you. There's nothing wrong with wanting something better or not settling when a situation isn't working for you. But you don't want saying no to become a habit. Yeah, so it's saying I keep I've turned down a lot of job offers or people even telling me, "Oh, maybe you could try out this type of job." And I've just kind of tended to work on my own thing and try to keep making my business work for me, whether that's working on different social medias, um, making my own website rather than working with Etsy, vending more events, trying to get into stores. And even after all of that, I still haven't found the money to be enough to completely support myself on my own. I think it's saying that when an opportunity comes to me, even if it's not perfect when it comes to money, that I should really just take it and see where it leads me. Because I can't keep just saying no, 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 I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to do that. And just try out new things. The Four of Cups is a reminder to make sure that you aren't turning away good options just because you think something perfect will eventually appear as if by magic. Are your expectations realistic? Is it possible that what you've been waiting for has already been here all along, but you just weren't seeing it with clear eyes? I think that's a lot of it for me as well, is I have everything I need, like I said. I'm fine. I literally don't need more money. I would like more money. Like it said, I don't have to settle, but I should be grateful for everything I have at this time. Perhaps it is time to take another look around and see what you've been missing. It's saying that my other perfect options won't appear by magic, but because this is reversed, could it mean that my other options will appear by magic? Let's look at the reversal online. Four of Cups reverse reflects a period of introspection and withdrawal. You are retreating into your own inner world so you can concentrate on what is integral to you and what grounds you. It's funny, this is the grounding section. And it's saying that I've been going inwards and I haven't been hanging out with people as much, and that's very, very, very much true. Others may want to spend time with you or invite you out, but you prefer to stay in and read a good book or meditate in your sacred space. Just be careful that you don't shut off your friends and loved ones or appear disinterested in their lives. Let them know you need some alone time and that you'll reach out again when you're ready to reemerge. That very much applies to me. I've been very much a hermit lately, and I think it is important that I just tell my friends that that's the phase I'm going through. I've told one of my really good friends that, but I think it would be a good thing to tell a lot of people. It says, if you are feeling withdrawn, don't force yourself to go out, just be in this space. When you are ready, start to reintegrate with the world around you. You won't be a hermit forever, it's just a temporary state of being. It says, make sure your upcoming projects and endeavors are a good fit. Instead of saying yes straight away, step back and assess the situation first. So, before it was saying with this card not being reversed, it was like, don't say no to people. And now it's saying, be careful before saying yes. So that's what the reversal is for this. So I wasn't wrong for thinking, maybe all of those options job-wise aren't right for me. But I still feel that I should go out there and look for something that is right for me. It says, I'm disappointed with the world around me. That's definitely not true. Everything seems hard, no. And reluctant to open your heart to express someone your true feelings, no. I don't feel like that's for me. And this labyrinthos also popped up. Let's see if it has anything else. So see, this labyrinthos, it has what it means in a love reading, what it means in a career, and what it means in finances. So I can look straight at this. Finances, meaning reversed Four of Cups. The reversed Four of Cups is a signal, a journey towards economic betterment and security. This is not only the result of your ability to control your finances, but it is symptomatic of your efforts to appreciate what you already have. Yes. this is what is for me. This is what this card meant for me. I feel like of all the things I've read, of the book, of Biddy Tarot, this Labyrinthos was really calling out to me, and I'm glad that I clicked on it, because it says that gratitude is the most important part. The more gratitude I have, the more I will receive, because the universe will know that I will be grateful for what it gives me. You can really see that based on the picture of the card as well. While you might have been previously envious of others for their financial security, yes, I sure have, you may be taking steps to be more positive with your approaches and finances. The universe will reward you as you focus your energy towards better financial habits. Save and spend as you need to without letting what others think or have distract you. Be prepared to work for the rewards that this card signals. Yes, it's saying hard work is going to have to take place, but it's saying the less that I care about what other people think about how I make money, or the less I care about how other people make money, or how much money other people have, and the more grateful that I am for all the things that I have, then the more I will feel abundant. So I don't think that it's as much about money. It's about just being grateful and feeling abundant. And I know that. And a lot of the times, the tarot cards will tell you something you already know. It just wants you to remember. And next, I'm going to move on to the top position, which I would consider to be the spiritual or high knowledge position. And I got the Seven of Swords. And I remember when I first saw this card, I said, I don't even know what this card means. It's confusing to look at. She has these swords in her hands, but what's she doing? I don't understand. It seems like she's sneaking around, but I was very unsure the first time I ever pulled that card. So I went straight to the book. I'm carrying this stuff with me, but am I running away or running to? There's something wrong with this picture, isn't there? Our friend carrying the swords is clearly someplace she doesn't belong and doing something she isn't supposed to be doing. And it's just funny that the very first time I saw it, I said, I don't know what she's doing. And that's kind of what this energy is like, I'm not sure what's going on here. The way that I would read that reverse is it says, our friend is clearly someplace she doesn't belong doing something she isn't supposed to be doing. So the way that I would read that reverse, which is how it came out to me, is that I am right where I belong, doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. Nothing about what I'm doing is wrong. And the universe will always say that, spirit, tarot cards, however you want to put it. You are where you are supposed to be. And that's a very important thing to understand. No matter if you feel you've made a lot of mistakes in your life up until this point, it was all supposed to happen. There's a consistent message about that throughout all tarot card decks that I've ever had. Some appearances can be deceiving. Is she taking something away or bringing something in? Is there some kind of heroic mission involved or merely underhanded mischief? Whatever it is, it looks like shenanigans are afoot. Things to consider. The Seven of Swords can be a warning to be alert. Whatever situation you're in the midst of may be more complicated than it appears. It might be hard to know who to trust. If something seems off, you should probably listen to your instincts. I think no matter what, being in the spiritual or high position, I would say always trust your instincts. That's another thing that's very common throughout tarot and through many readings, is to trust your intuition. Even the very first card, when being introduced, it said, rely on your own personal power as well. If something seems off, you should probably listen to your instincts. On the other hand, don't jump to conclusions. There may be a perfectly reasonable explanation for that guy walking off with all your jewelry. Maybe he's just taking it out to be cleaned. So, let's say this is my first time ever, reading a tarot card. This will be very confusing to me. I wouldn't be really sure, especially because it's reversed, which part of that applied to me? How does that relate to spirit? The only part that I thought related to a spiritual or high energy would have been to trust my intuition. Other than that, I'd be a bit lost, and therefore, I would go to the internet. Okay. And looking on Biddy Tarot, right away I see that the reverse says imposter syndrome, self-deceit. That is definitely something I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with the fact that I think that I'm not good enough, and that's maybe why my business isn't succeeding. And I think that maybe if I just realize that I am good enough, and if I keep trying new things, it will end up working out for me in the long run. The Seven of Swords often appears reversed when you feel like a fraud and are suffering from imposter syndrome. You may doubt yourself and your abilities. For example, you have started a new business. You may ask yourself, who am I to be doing this? Get out of your head and trust that you have everything you need to make your new venture a success. Very true. It's saying I have everything I need and I'm going to do great at this. Even though it feels like a struggle to me, it honestly really isn't. I really do have everything I need. And I am doing what I love to be doing. So at the end of the day, there should be a lot of peace in my heart. And that's something I need to work on. And remember that I have what I need and I am good enough. It says the Seven of Swords reverse can suggest that you're deceiving yourself, trying to trick yourself into believing something even though it is out of integrity with your true self. You may fool yourself. For me, actually, this is crazy because going back on what I said earlier, I was thinking maybe I can get a job. Maybe it will be okay for me. And it's like I've said that time and time again that I've only ever felt comfortable running my own business. So I think maybe here I'm trying to deceive myself. Or maybe I'm deceiving myself out of believing that that's the only option for me. So really there's a lot for me to think there. And I'd have to do a lot of inner work in myself saying, is this something I'm willing to do? To not work for myself and go back out there into the working field, even if it's definitely not going to be perfect for me. And who's to say I can't just try it, and if it doesn't work, I just don't do that anymore. I'm not keeping any dark secrets from others, so I definitely wouldn't say that that paragraph applies to me. And then it says an affair, and that also definitely doesn't apply to me. So I think I would definitely say the imposter syndrome one, which is actually something I didn't know about the reversal of this card, and it's a good thing that I looked this up. See, I'm still learning about these tarot cards all the time. You never really learn every single thing that every single card means. It's definitely a learning process. It's a lifelong learning process. And that's what I got out of that card, that I am not an imposter, I actually am good enough, and that maybe there's some inner deceit happening where I'm trying to fool myself into thinking that this is the black and white thinking again, right? That's black and white thinking, to think that not a single job out there in the world would be fulfilling to me. That's just not true. And we started this reading by saying she likes to get rid of black and white thinking. So I think that that's what I need to remember, is that just because it hasn't worked for me in the past, and I do feel really fulfilled by being a business owner, that I could still supplement my business with additional money from different sources, because I did want this to be a money reading, so I think I'm definitely getting the answers that I asked for. Okay, and finally, the last card in this reading, so exciting, is the Star, which is number 17, which is my birthday number, so that's really awesome. I feel special. And you can see, let's look at the card, it's magical. She has lots of fun colors flowing out of her fingertips. She seems at peace, she seems balanced, she's in nature. It's at night, obviously, it's called the star. So maybe there's some connection to me wanting to go outside and look at the stars. She's standing in a river, so water, and of course in every card there's a cat. Okay, and this is my future, yay. The cosmos is also within us. We are made of star stuff. Carl Sagan. We are the light of all of the stars. I think this really goes back to how this deck introduced itself. It's saying that all the answers are right here. I know everything I need to know. I will always be on the right path. And everything's connected, you know? A witch, flowing with her silver hair and long silver gown, stands under the dark sky filled with stars. She wears a circlet made of glowing stars, which also covers her dress. One hand is raised toward the sky, palm open, and light flows down from the sky into her palm like the northern lights. The other hand points down to the ground, palm down, and the same multicolored light flows out into a pool of water by her feet. The water is blue, but turns colors where the light joins it. Here is guiding light in the dark, hope, tranquility, peace amid chaos. She will help lead you to a place of balance that will cleanse your spirit. And if you are fortunate, perhaps she will grant you a wish. Well, wonderful. It seems like maybe my wish will come true. And what this makes me think of, just thinking of just meditations that I've done before, that's something I definitely recommend to go alongside tarot, is doing meditations. I do feel that they're very helpful. But oftentimes when I'm meditating, I imagine the white light coming down, maybe to my crown chakra, my third eye chakra, lighting it up. It lights it up out, and it lights it up down, and then it will help light up the next chakra down, and so on. And that's how I do a lot of my meditations, just a very quick one where I imagine each one of my chakra centers lighting up, full of the light, and then I get to the bottom and it goes all the way down in the earth, and I feel connected, grounded, and filled with light. And so if there's maybe something in a card that reminds you of something that you do in your daily life, you want to make sure that you're remembering that, making those connections, because I think that what this is saying to me is that doing that meditation is really important for me. It will help connect me and keep me grounded. The stars have long been a sight that lifts our hearts. Is there anything more beautiful than that bright spot of light in a dark sky? The star is one of those rare cards that has no negative interpretations. My future cannot be seen as negative. How beautiful is that? And like I said, I think it's saying, go out there and look at the stars. It's nighttime right now. And what did I say about if there's a pause in the reading? If there's something that calls you? Well, guess what, guys? I'm going outside. I'll be back in a minute. That was fun. I needed a break and to get outside and be just feeling that beautiful night air. The funny thing was, I thought there wasn't a single star in the sky, but I looked above my house and I let my eyes adjust and I saw one single star just sitting above my house. It was definitely a very magical moment, and you have to really take that time to pause, and that's why tarot card readings, even just 5 cards, can take so long, you know? It says, if she shows up in your reading, accept her gifts with gratitude and appreciation. Things to consider. The star brings with it balance and hope, and a reminder that we all have a spark of the divine within us. As Carl Sagan said, we are all made of star stuff. While the star promises us that we will find what we seek, it also reminds us to look within as well as without for those answers. Tarot card readings love to do this. They love to throw back to what they taught you in the very beginning for the very last card. You'll notice that a lot. If you do readings many times, you will see that there was a theme within the reading. Even the very first card that didn't have to do with me, it had to do with something that I needed to hear at that time. And it's saying that I will get what I seek, but so much of what I seek has to do with me getting myself right internally. Just being grateful for what I already have. That is one of the biggest takeaways that I'm getting from this reading. And to not have that black and white thinking. To also know that I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. That I can't just always say yes or always say no. So that's what I took out of this reading. It says, let our light shine out into the world to illuminate the paths for others. So that's definitely saying to me that I gotta keep doing what I'm doing, talking about tarot and talking about my spirituality and just trying to be a positive light in this world, because I think it's telling me that that is a really important part of what I do. And that was my reading I did for me. Maybe you followed along and did your own first reading. Maybe you're inspired to do a reading for yourself, or maybe you're inspired to get your own first tarot card deck, or maybe you're inspired to pick up that tarot card deck that you haven't used in a while. But basically the oracle is very similar. I would go ahead and introduce yourself to the oracle cards and ask it to introduce itself. And then the only real difference is that unless the makers of the actual oracle deck put all of the information, additional information online, you're not going to be able to do that step of the process. You're basically just going to have to look at the card, see what you get off the card, and then read the book. If there's maybe some additional information, like in this book, I'm just going to pull a random card just so you know what I'm talking about. Okay, I don't even know how to say this, so it's a good one to use. Pau D'Arco, Metamorphosis. I'm not sure what that means. It has a womb here. This is very interesting. Maybe I will go ahead and read this card because it's so fascinating. But I don't know what this herb is. So you can go online and look up this herb, and then it'll tell you more information about what that herb can do for you. So, you know, depending on what the actual subject matter of the oracle cards is, you may be able to get some more information about that subject online. Okay, and just based on the card, like I said, we have, she's taking off a mask, so maybe I'm removing a layer of myself that I showed to the world. There's a lot of feminine energy happening here. We have the moon and Pluto. She almost looks like Kali to me, which is like chaos. Like I said, we have the ovaries and bleeding, so it's definitely talking to me. I can just see that as like getting in tune with your cycle, in tune with the moon cycle. It also shows a woman that's like dead, basically. She's walking out of her dead self as this like crazy floral goddess, which makes a lot of sense because the card is called Metamorphosis. Okay, upright. So this one, you can see it has an upright and reversal. I really love when decks have broken down what the upright and reverse means. Discovery through darkness, transcendence of the known, unearthing fear. The fear, it said, even in this last card, it said, your imposter. Hey! Please don't do that. Okay. What I was trying to say, Darcy. So what I was trying to say was it talked about unearthing fear, And then in my last card, it said that imposter syndrome is just fear talking. So I think that this is saying, like, I'm going to be growing out of that imposter syndrome feeling. It says it is one of the most beautiful trees on earth with over 100 varieties. This tree has been used medicinally among many tribal peoples throughout Central and South America. Most commonly, the inner lining of the bark was boiled for a long period of time, then consumed as dark coffee-like tea. Palo d'Arco has many medicinal qualities that fall under the moon and Pluto's domination, such as being a blood tonic and a daily tonic for strength, and also being employed for digestive imbalances, menstrual irregularities, malaria, anemia, colds, flus, fungal infections, respiratory infections, arthritis, cancer, and a lot more. Wow, wow, wow. There's a lot it can do, huh? And that's the kind of thing that you could do a lot more research on online. And maybe it actually is something that you'd consider taking. That's the thing with Oracle decks. Let's say it's a crystal. Maybe you would consider buying that crystal because you pulled it, or because this is an herb that I can actually attain and drink. It may be something that I could consider, after doing research, I could consider taking. The Incas, and doing research, and I should say also speaking with a medical professional, the Incas and other groups predating them were known to use Palo d'Arco as a panacea? Panacea? Okay, I looked it up. It's pronounced panacea, and it means a cure-all, apparently. That is a brand new word for me. This is why I love Oracle and Tarot, because I'm always learning something new. Tribes living thousands of miles apart have employed it for the same medicinal purposes for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Many tribes used its wood to make hunting bows, utensils, and all sorts of tools, believing that it provided great blessings of strength and resilience. Guarani, Tupi, and other indigenous tribes called it El Arbol de Yavga. I'm so sorry. Which translates to the tree of heaven. Lapacho is one of the great protectors of the sacred, and she is welcoming you in. Archetypally, Palo d'Arco embodies one of the faces of the dark goddess in her mighty splendor. The dark goddess is multifaceted, challenging belief systems, frailties, weaknesses, and testing our strength. Like Pluto, Lapacho demands you rebel against the ignorance of the old self and learned paradigms that inhibit the splendor of your self-expression. I think if I'm taking it back to what I've been talking about this whole reading, it really applies to the, get rid of that black and white thinking. Get rid of anything you really might have picked up that, boxes you in from your old life. It talks about you left that old life. My past card, it said you left it, but you're still having a lot of the same difficulties. And it's saying it's my thought processes, right? There's thought processes that I need to let go. And I think a lot of this reading has touched on that. It's saying you don't have to box yourself in. Like I said just before, you don't have to think there's no job out there that will work for me. Thinking that is very black and white, right? I have to be open to opportunities that come to me. And I think it's almost saying, get in tune with that dark femininity. I've been very on just, spreading light and, not really connecting with any dark magic my entire life, actually. I've never. There's only been one time that I contacted Kali, and I don't even know if I would really consider her darkness and more like a chaos. But other than that, I typically only just do like positive magic. Almost actually, like every single spell I've ever done has been like for the good of all, harming none. But I think like I need to get in tune with this other side of life, you know? Instead of pushing it away so much, it's saying like allow that to come in and like make you have that new creative energy. It's saying that's an old paradigm that I thought I can only work with the light side of life, right? That I'm only allowed to use light energy. Light and darkness exist in this world, and you are allowed to use all of that energy at your fingertips. You don't have to box yourself in. That's what it's saying. And as you'll notice, the oracle cards, they tend to get right to the spiritual side of things. Her mighty darkness provides the tools to rebuild ourselves anew, triggering instant metamorphosis. I might be concerned with all these things, like, oh, I don't think I can do that, or I think it's really just telling me to try it. And I'm definitely getting the feeling that I just really need to get in tune with a dark feminine energy. And I think that really has everything to do with like turning into my shadow self and like figuring out these blockages. Like something I've done recently was journaling, like, why do I have money blockages? And asking spirit directly and journaling like a couple of pages worth of information actually, which was very useful. Don't fear the unknown nature of mystery. The cosmic womb, in its darkness, births all hidden potentials into existence. Trust and step in. You are being guided. I have a spiritual team, right? It's saying I don't have to fear the unknown because I am guided. It's saying that even in darkness, good things come, births, hidden potentials, they come into existence. So it's saying if I turn and look into my darkness, there could be the answers there. Like, don't run from these sides of myself that I don't understand. I don't understand why I'm not good with money. So actually journal about it. Actually ask tarot about it and continue to do that work in the darkness and the unknown. So until it comes to me or until I accept the fact that I don't have it, then that is part of my shadow self that I'm going to have to do work on. And I think that that's everything I have for you all today. I hope that you enjoyed doing this reading with me. This was a reading for me, but I hope you got a lot of information on how to do a reading for yourself. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And if you do want me to do a reading for you, then I'm always available to do that. So feel free to message me or reach out to me on any platform. I will definitely be able to get back to you and do a reading for you. And I'll leave all of my information down below. The deck that I used linked down below. I will leave my website down below where you can purchase money and inspiration. And I think that that's everything I have for you all today. And I hope that you all have an amazing rest of your day. I love you all. Bye, everybody.